In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, a small blue planet called Zephyrus spun quietly around its dim red star. The Zephyrians, a race of gentle, ethereal beings, had lived there for millions of years. They were tall and slender, with translucent skin that shimmered like gossamer in the soft light of their world. Their large, expressive eyes seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. For centuries, the Zephyrians had lived in peace, their society built on cooperation and harmony. They had no weapons, no armies, and no concept of violence. Their technology was advanced, but focused entirely on art, healing, and communing with nature. They were content in their isolation, unaware of the greater galactic community that existed beyond their star system. One day, a massive ship appeared in the skies above Zephyrus. It was a scout vessel from the Galactic Council, an organization that governed most of the intelligent species in the Milky Way. The Zephyrians watched in awe as strange armored creatures emerged from the ship. These were the Cracks, a warrior race that served as the Council's enforcers. The Cracks' commander, a hulking figure with scales like burnished steel, surveyed the peaceful Zephyrian cities with disdain. Weak, he growled into his communicator. No defenses, no weapons, useless to the Council. For the next several days, the Cracks studied the Zephyrians. They observed their art, their healing techniques, and their ability to communicate with plants and animals. But to the warlike Cracks, these skills seemed pointless. They saw no value in the Zephyrians' peaceful way of life. On the fifth day, a holographic message flickered to life in the center of the largest Zephyrian city. It was the Galactic Council, a panel of stern-faced aliens from various species. Their declaration was cold and final. People of Zephyrus, you have been judged and found wanting. Your race is weak, unproductive, and without value to the greater galactic community. You are hereby ordered to leave your planet. It will be repurposed for species more worthy of Council membership. The Zephyrians were stunned. Leave their home. Where would they go? How would they survive? They had no ships capable of interstellar travel, no weapons to defend themselves. For the first time in their long history, fear gripped the hearts of the gentle aliens. The Cracks gave them one standard galactic month to evacuate. In that time, the Zephyrians worked tirelessly to build crude space arcs, using technology they barely understood. Families were torn apart as not everyone could fit on the hastily constructed ships. Tears fell like rain as the chosen few said goodbye to those left behind. As the deadline approached, the space arcs took off from Zephyrus, carrying the hope and future of their race. They'd watched through viewports as their beautiful blue world grew smaller and smaller. Many wept, their large eyes shimmering with tears that caught the light of unfamiliar stars. The Zephyrian fleet drifted through space, sending out distress signals on all frequencies. But the messages were ignored or actively blocked by order of the Galactic Council. To the powerful races of the galaxy, the Zephyrians were now outcasts, unworthy of aid or even acknowledgement. Days turned to weeks, and weeks to months. The Zephyrian supplies began to run low. Their ships, not designed for long-term space travel, started to fail. It seemed that the gentle race was doomed to drift forever in the cold emptiness of space, rejected by a galaxy that valued strength over compassion. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. On a small blue-green planet in a quiet arm of the galaxy, a signal was detected. Humans, a young race unknown to the Galactic Council, picked up the Zephyrians' cry for help. As scientists and leaders debated the meaning of the alien transmission, a decision was made that would change the course of human history. Earth would answer the call. Humanity, itself no stranger to conflict and hardship, chose compassion over fear. They would offer safety to these galactic outcasts, these refugees of the stars. As the Zephyrian fleet limped towards Earth, guided by human transmissions, a new chapter in cosmic history was about to unfold. The rejected had found hope, and humanity had taken its first step onto the galactic stage. The night sky above the SETI Institute in California was clear and star-filled. Inside the control room, Dr. Sarah Chen sat at her station, sipping coffee and monitoring the usual cosmic background noise. Suddenly, a series of regular pulses caught her attention. Her heart raced as she realized this was no natural phenomenon. "Hey, Mike, come look at this," she called to her colleague. Dr. Michael Okonkwo hurried over, his eyes widening as he saw the screen. "Is that?" he whispered. Sarah nodded, her voice barely audible. "I think we just made first contact." Within hours, the news spread like wildfire. Government officials, scientists, and military leaders from around the world converged on the SETI Institute. The signal was undeniably artificial and clearly of extraterrestrial origin. As experts worked to decode the message, world leaders gathered for an emergency United Nations session. The General Assembly Hall in New York buzzed with tension and excitement. UN Secretary General Amara Okoro addressed the assembly. "Ladies and gentlemen, we stand at a pivotal moment in human history. An alien race has reached out to us. They call themselves the Zephyrians, and they are asking for our help." Murmurs filled the hall as Okoro continued. "The Zephyrians have been exiled from their home by a galactic governing body. They are refugees, seeking shelter and compassion." Debates raged for days. Some nations advocated for caution, fearing the unknown. Others argued for immediate action to help the aliens. Scientists presented their findings, showing that the Zephyrian fleet was in dire condition and would not survive much longer without aid. In Beijing, President Lai Wei held a tense meeting with his advisors. "If we help them, we risk drawing the attention of this galactic council," one general warned. Lai nodded gravely. "And if we don't, we turn our backs on a peaceful race in need. What kind of first impression would that make on the galaxy?" Similar conversations were happening in Washington, Moscow, New Delhi, and other capitals around the world. The decision would shape humanity's future among the stars. Meanwhile, in a small village in Kenya, a young girl named Amani watched the news with wide eyes. "Mama," she asked, "why are people afraid to help the aliens?" Her mother, a local teacher, fought for a moment. "Sometimes, Amani, people fear what they don't understand. But often, the right choice is also the kindest one." As the debate continued, an unexpected voice rose to prominence. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a renowned psychologist, addressed the UN via video link. "We have a unique opportunity," she said, her calm voice cutting through the chaos. "These Zephyrians were rejected for being weak and unproductive. But think about Earth's history. How often have we wrongly judged cultures different from our own? How often have we missed out on valuable perspectives because they didn't fit our preconceptions?" Her words struck a chord. Slowly, a consensus began to form. Humanity would not repeat the mistakes of this galactic council. They would extend a hand of friendship to the Zephyrians. The decision made, Earth sprang into action. Space agencies around the world pooled their resources. Engineers worked around the clock to modify existing spacecraft for deep space rescue missions. Governments cleared vast areas for potential landing sites. Medical teams prepared for any possible alien diseases, while linguists fine-tuned translation algorithms. As Earth made its preparations, a message was broadcast into space, aimed at the approaching Zephyrian fleet. It was simple, translated into the mathematical language the aliens had used. "People of Zephyris, this is Earth. We hear you. We see you. You are welcome here. Please follow our signal. You are safe now." Across the globe, humans held their breath. In space stations and ship bridges, in living rooms and public squares, all eyes turned to the sky. Telescopes tracked the slow approach of the alien ships, battered and limping across the solar system. Humanity stood on the brink of a new era. They had chosen compassion over fear, unity over division. As the Zephyrian fleet drew closer, no one could predict what challenges lay ahead. But in this moment, Earth had shown the best of itself. The first ships were expected to reach Earth orbit within days. Hotels were converted into temporary alien housing. School children made welcome signs in dozens of languages, including attempted Zephyrian script. A mix of excitement and apprehension filled the air. Earth was about to host its first interstellar refugees. The galaxy was watching, even if it didn't know it yet. Humanity's next chapter was about to begin, written in the stars. The day of arrival dawned bright and clear over the New Mexico desert. A massive crowd had gathered at the designated landing site, held back by security barriers. News crews from every corner of the globe jostled for the best physician, their cameras pointed skyward. Dr. Sarah Chen stood next to General Maria Rodriguez, both women squinting against the sun. "Any moment now," Sarah murmured, checking her tablet. Suddenly, a collective gasp rose from the crowd. High above, a shimmer of light appeared, growing larger by the second. The lead Zephyrian ship, battered and scarred from its long journey, broke through the clouds. It was like nothing humans had ever seen. The ship seemed to be made of crystal and light, its surface rippling like water. Despite the damage it had sustained, it moved with a grace that defied its size. As the ship descended, a hush fell over the assembled humans. Even the most skeptical among them couldn't help but feel awe at this moment. This was history in the making. The ship touched down with barely a sound, settling onto the desert floor as gently as a feather. For a long moment, nothing happened. The world held its breath. Then, with a soft hiss, a doorway appeared in the side of the ship. A ramp of pure light extended to the ground, and the first Zephyrian stepped onto Earth. The alien was tall, easily 8 feet in height, with a slender, almost ethereal body. Its skin shimmered with an inner light, changing colors subtly as it moved. Large, almond-shaped eyes surveyed the scene, filled with a mixture of fear and hope. More Zephyrians followed, each as striking as the first. They moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost unreal. Some carried small children, others supported elderly members of their species. Dr. Chen stepped forward, her heart pounding. She raised her hand in the universal gesture of peace. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her words being translated and broadcast to the Zephyrians. The lead Zephyrian mimicked her gesture, then spoke. Its voice was like music, rising and falling in complex harmonies. The translation came through Sarah's earpiece. "We thank you, people of Earth, for your kindness. We are the last of the Zephyrians, cast out and alone. You have given us hope." Tears sprang to Sarah's eyes. Behind her, she could hear sniffles from the crowd. The Zephyrians' words had touched something deep in the human spirit. Over the next few hours, more ships landed. Each one brought new wonders and challenges. Earth's medical teams sprang into action, checking the aliens for any signs of distress after their long journey. To everyone's relief, the Zephyrians seemed to be adapting well to Earth's atmosphere. As night fell, the desert bloomed with lights. Emergency shelters had been set up to house the Zephyrians temporarily. Humans and aliens worked side by side, setting up beds, distributing food, and beginning the long process of understanding each other. In one of the shelters, a young Zephyrian child reached out curiously to touch the hand of a human volunteer. The moment their fingers met, a soft glow spread between them. The human gasped in wonder, feeling a sense of peace and connection unlike anything he'd ever experienced. Word of this ability spread quickly. The Zephyrians, it seemed, could share emotions and even simple thoughts through touch. This revelation caused both excitement and concern among Earth's leaders. In Washington, D.C., President Kira Valdez sat in an emergency meeting with her cabinet. Their abilities could revolutionize everything from medicine to communication, her science advisor was saying. But it also raises security concerns. Kira nodded thoughtfully. "Our priority is clear. We promised these people safety, and we will deliver on that promise. But we also need to ensure the safety of our own people as we navigate this new reality." Meanwhile, in orbit, astronaut Jamal Carter watched in awe as more Zephyrian ships approached Earth. From his vantage point on the International Space Station, he could see the fleet stretching out into space, a glittering river of light heading towards the blue marble of Earth. "Houston," he radioed, his voice filled with emotion. "You should see this view. It's like the whole galaxy is coming to say hello." As Earth completed its first rotation with the Zephyrians present, a new day dawned. It was a day that would be remembered in history books for centuries to come. The day when humanity proved it could rise above fear, when it chose compassion over suspicion. The Zephyrians had arrived, and with them came the promise of a new era for Earth. An era of challenges, certainly, but also one of unprecedented opportunity and hope. The journey of coexistence had only just begun. As weeks turned into months, the initial shock of the Zephyrians' arrival gave way to curiosity and wonder. Across the globe, humans and aliens began the delicate dance of cultural exchange. In New York City, a group of Zephyrians stood in awe before the bright lights of Times Square. Their bodies shimmered, unconsciously mimicking the colorful billboards around them. Nearby, a street artist quickly sketched the scene, his hands moving in a blur to capture the aliens' ethereal beauty. "It's like they're made of living light," the artist murmured to a gathered crowd. A Zephyrian turned, hearing his words, and smiled. With a gentle wave of its hand, it created a small ball of glowing energy, offering it to the amazed humans. Meanwhile, in the Amazon rainforest, Dr. Lucia Mendoza led a team of scientists and Zephyrians on an expedition. The aliens moved through the dense jungle with ease, their bodies seeming to flow around obstacles. Incredible, Lucia breathed as she watched a Zephyrian communicate with a giant kapok tree. The alien's hands glowed softly as it touched the tree's bark, and moments later, the tree's leaves rustled in response. "They say the tree is old," the Zephyrian translator explained. "It has seen much change. It welcomes us but warns of the forest's shrinking borders." This ability to communicate with plants and animals quickly made the Zephyrians invaluable in conservation efforts around the world. Their gentle touch could soothe injured animals, and their insights helped humans understand ecosystems in ways they never had before. In return, humans introduced the Zephyrians to the richness of Earth's cultures. In Japan, a group of aliens learned the art of origami, their delicate fingers creating intricate paper sculptures that seemed to come alive with inner light. In Senegal, Zephyrians joined in a traditional dance celebration, their bodies moving in perfect harmony with the rhythmic drumbeats. The human dancers were amazed at how quickly the aliens picked up the complex steps. "It's like they can feel the music in their very being," one dancer commented, watching a Zephyrian twirl gracefully. Not all interactions were smooth, however. In a small town in the American Midwest, tensions rose when a group of protesters gathered outside a Zephyrian community center. "Go back to space," one man shouted, his face red with anger and fear. A young Zephyrian stepped forward, its large eyes filled with sadness. Slowly, it extended a hand towards the angry man. "May I?" it asked softly. Hesitantly, the man nodded. As their hands touched, a soft glow spread between them. The man's eyes widened, then filled with tears. I'm sorry," he stammered. "I didn't understand. I was afraid." This scene played out in various forms across the globe. The Zephyrians' ability to share emotions helped bridge gaps of misunderstanding and fear. Slowly but surely, acceptance grew. In schools, human and Zephyrian children learned side by side. Young humans were fascinated by their alien classmates' ability to change colors and create small light shows. In turn, Zephyrian children were captivated by human games and sports. At a playground in Sydney, Australia, a human boy taught a Zephyrian friend how to kick a soccer ball. The alien child's foot passed right through the ball on the first try, its partially ethereal form struggling with solid objects. But after a few attempts and lots of laughter, it managed to connect, sending the ball soaring. In universities, human and Zephyrian scientists worked together, combining their knowledge and technologies. The Zephyrians' advanced understanding of energy and light led to breakthroughs in clean power generation. Human ingenuity and engineering helped the Zephyrians improve their spacecraft designs. Dr. Sarah Chen, who had been present at the first landing, now led a joint human-Zephyrian research team. "Every day brings new discoveries," she told a reporter. "The Zephyrians' perspective challenges everything we thought we knew about the universe, and our questions push them to see their own abilities in new ways." As the sun set on another day of this unprecedented cultural exchange, a Zephyrian elder stood on a hilltop, watching the lights of a nearby human city twinkle to life. Next to it stood Professor Ahmed Salib, a renowned human philosopher. "Your people have shown us great kindness," the Zephyrian said, its voice a melody in the evening air. Ahmed smiled. "And your people have shown us that strength comes in many forms. Perhaps together, we can show the galaxy a new way forward." As night fell, the glow of the city was matched by the soft luminescence of the Zephyrian settlement beside it. Two civilizations, once separated by the vast gulf of space, now lived side by side. The journey of understanding had only just begun, but already both humans and Zephyrians were forever changed by the encounter. 6 months after the Zephyrians' arrival on Earth, the planet was buzzing with activity and progress. Humans and their alien guests had settled into a rhythm of cooperation and mutual learning. But in the vast reaches of space, trouble was brewing. On a Monday morning, alarms blared across every major space agency on Earth. Dr. Sarah Chen rushed into NASA's control room, her heart pounding. "What's happening?" she demanded. A young technician looked up, his face pale. "We're detecting a massive object entering our solar system. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." On the main screen, a colossal ship appeared, dwarfing even the largest Zephyrian vessels. Its surface was covered in sharp angles and glowing red lines, a stark contrast to the Zephyrians' flowing, crystalline designs. "We're receiving a transmission," another technician announced. The screen flickered, and a harsh face appeared. The alien was reptilian, with scales like burnished steel and eyes that glowed an angry red. It was a Krax, the enforcer race of the Galactic Council. "Humans of Earth," the Krax commander growled, its voice translated into a guttural English. "You have violated galactic law by harboring the exiled Zephyrians. Surrender them immediately, or face the consequences." The room fell silent. Sarah's mind raced. They had known this might happen, but not so soon. Not before they were ready. Within hours, world leaders gathered for an emergency UN session. The Zephyrian representatives were there too, their normally shimmering bodies dim with worry. UN Secretary-General Amara Okoro addressed the assembly. "We made a promise to the Zephyrians. We offered them safety. Are we prepared to stand by that promise, even in the face of this threat?" Debates raged. Some nations argued for appeasing the Galactic Council, fearing Earth wasn't ready for an interstellar conflict. Others stood firm, unwilling to abandon their new allies. In Beijing, President Lai Wei sat in a tense meeting with his military advisors. "What are our options if this comes to a fight?" he asked. "Limited, sir," a general replied grimly. "Their technology is far beyond ours. But we've learned much from the Zephyrians. Perhaps there's a way to use that knowledge." Similar conversations were happening in capitals around the world. Humanity found itself thrust onto the galactic stage, facing a trial by fire. As politicians debated, ordinary people took to the streets. In New York, London, Tokyo, and countless other cities, humans and Zephyrians marched side by side. Their message was clear. We stand together. In a small town in India, a group of children, human and Zephyrian, painted a giant mural on the side of a building. It showed Earth with human and Zephyrian hands clasped around it protectively. Above it, in multiple languages, were the words, "Our home, our family." Back in space, more Galactic Council ships arrived, forming a blockade around Earth. Their weapons remained powered down, but the threat was clear. On the International Space Station, now expanded with Zephyrian technology, astronauts and aliens worked frantically. They were Earth's first line of defense, and possibly its last hope. If we can adapt the Zephyrians' energy-sharing ability, one scientist mused, maybe we can create a planetary shield. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, an unexpected alliance was forming. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the psychologist who had advocated for the Zephyrians' acceptance, met with a group of Zephyrian elders. Your ability to share emotions, she said, could it work on a larger scale? Could you project feelings of peace, of understanding? The Zephyrians exchanged glances. It has never been attempted, one elder said. But in this time of need, we are willing to try. As tensions mounted, the Crack's commander's patience wore thin. You have 24 Earth hours to comply, he announced. After that, we will take action. The countdown began. Earth's cities went dark as power was diverted to experimental defense systems. Families huddled together, human and Zephyrian alike, watching the skies with fear and hope. In orbit, the space station team worked tirelessly on their shield project. On the ground, Zephyrian elders gathered in circles, preparing for their unprecedented attempt at large-scale emotional projection. As the deadline approached, President Kira Valdez of the United States addressed the world. We face a moment that will define not just our species, but our very souls, she said. Whatever comes, we will face it standing side by side with our Zephyrian friends. For we have learned that true strength lies not in weapons or technology, but in compassion, in unity, and in the courage to do what is right. As her words echoed across the globe, the Crack ships began to move. Earth held its breath, standing on the precipice of a new era. The next few hours would determine the fate not just of humanity and the Zephyrians, but potentially of the entire galaxy. The stage was set for a confrontation that would echo across the stars. As the Crack ships loomed ever closer to Earth, tension gripped the planet. In the control room of the International Space Station, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the approaching fleet with a mix of fear and determination. "Shield status?" she asked, her voice tight. "Online, but untested," replied astronaut Jamal Carter. "We're channeling Zephyrian energy through human technology. It's never been done before." On the main screen, a shimmering blue bubble began to form around Earth. It was beautiful, but would it be enough? Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, groups of Zephyrian elders sat in circles, their bodies glowing with intense concentration. They were attempting something unprecedented, a planet-wide projection of emotions. In New York's Central Park, a Zephyrian named Lyre led one such group. "Focus on peace," Lyre instructed, "on understanding, on the bonds we formed with our human friends." As the Zephyrians concentrated, a strange calm began to spread across the city. People stopped their panicked preparations and looked up at the sky with wonder rather than fear. In orbit, the Crack's commander's finger hovered over the fire button, but something made him hesitate. A feeling he couldn't explain washed over him, a sense of peace, of questioning his own actions. "Sir," his second-in-command asked, "shall we attack?" The commander shook his head, trying to clear it. I'm not sure." Back on Earth, another unexpected development was unfolding. In the Amazon rainforest, where Zephyrians had been working with Dr. Lucia Mendoza on conservation efforts, the trees began to move. Lucia watched in awe as ancient roots pulled themselves from the ground. Branches reached towards the sky, forming a living barrier against the alien threat. "They're helping us," a Zephyrian explained, its voice filled with wonder. "The forest is defending its home." Similar scenes played out across the globe. In the African savanna, herds of elephants and prides of lions moved in formation, guided by Zephyrian communication. In the oceans, whales breached in unison, creating massive waves that rocked the Crack ships that ventured too close to the water's surface. Nature itself seemed to be rising up in defense of Earth. As the Crack's fleet approached the shimmering shield, the commander gave the order to fire. Powerful energy beams lanced out, striking the blue bubble. In the space station, alarms blared. "Shield holding. Jamal shouted over the noise. But I don't know for how long. Sarah gripped her console, watching as the shield flickered under the assault. But then something unexpected happened. Where the crack's weapons hit, flowers of light bloomed. The shield wasn't just defending. It was transforming the energy of the attacks into something beautiful. On the crack's ships, confusion reigned. Our weapons are having no effect, an officer reported. In fact, sir, the humans appear to be using our attack to strengthen their defenses. The commander stared at the view screen in disbelief. This defied everything he knew about warfare. As the battle raged in space, the Zephyrians on Earth continued their emotional projection. Waves of peace, understanding, and unity radiated out into space. Some of the cracks began to lower their weapons, overcome by feelings they couldn't explain. In Washington, D.C., President Kira Valdez received an urgent message. "Madam President," her aide said, "we're receiving transmissions from other alien races. They've been watching the conflict, and they're impressed. They want to talk." Kira's eyes widened. "Open a channel," she ordered. Soon, representatives from a dozen alien races appeared on screens around the world. They had been observing silently, waiting to see how Earth would respond to this test. "We have seen your strength," one alien said, its voice translated into every human language. "Not the strength of weapons, but of unity, of compassion. Perhaps we were wrong about what makes a species worthy." As word spread of this development, cheers erupted around the globe. Humans and Zephyrians embraced, their combined efforts having achieved the impossible. In orbit, the Crack's commander received new orders from the Galactic Council. With a mix of frustration and grudging respect, he opened a channel to Earth. "Humans," he growled, "you have proven yourselves unexpectedly capable. The Galactic Council wishes to open diplomatic relations." As the Crack's fleet began to withdraw, Sarah Chen looked out at the Earth below, its shield now a soft, pulsing glow. "We did it," she whispered. Beside her, a Zephyrian scientist nodded. "Together," it said, "we have shown the galaxy a new kind of strength." As the immediate threat passed, Earth and its Zephyrian allies found themselves at the dawn of a new era. They had faced the ultimate test and emerged, not just victorious, but transformed. The galaxy would never be the same. 5 years had passed since the day Earth and its Zephyrian allies faced down the Galactic Council. The planet had changed in ways no one could have imagined. In New York City, the United Nations building had been rebuilt and expanded. Its new design blended human architecture with Zephyrian crystal structures, creating a stunning symbol of interstellar cooperation. Inside, representatives from Earth, Zephyrus, and a dozen other alien races debated galactic policies. Secretary General Amara Okoro, now in her second term, addressed the assembly. 5 years ago, we stood alone against the stars. Today, we stand as a beacon of hope for the galaxy. Our alliance has shown that true strength lies in diversity, compassion, and understanding. As she spoke, holographic displays showed scenes from around the world and beyond. In the Amazon rainforest, Zephyrian conservationists worked alongside human scientists, their combined efforts having reversed decades of deforestation. The forest thrived, filled with new hybrid species that blended Earth and Zephyrian biology. In orbit, the International Space Station had grown into a sprawling complex. Human astronauts floated alongside Zephyrians and other alien visitors, conducting experiments that pushed the boundaries of science. Dr. Sarah Chen, now the director of Earth's first intergalactic research institute, led a team that had just made a breakthrough in faster-than-light travel. By combining Zephyrian energy manipulation with human ingenuity, she explained to a group of eager students, "We found a way to fold space itself. The stars are no longer out of reach." On the moon, a gleaming dome marked humanity's first permanent lunar settlement. Inside, children born on Earth, on Zephyrian Orcs, and on the moon itself played together, their laughter a testament to the new world they were building. But not all was perfect. In some parts of Earth, small groups still protested against the alien presence. They feared the rapid changes and the loss of what they saw as pure human culture. In a small town in the American Midwest, one such protest was underway. But as the angry crowd marched down the street, they were met by an unusual sight. A group of human and Zephyrian children stood hand in hand, forming a living barrier. As the protesters approached, the children began to glow softly, projecting feelings of peace and unity. The lead protester, a man named Mike, felt his anger melt away. He looked at the children, really seeing them for the first time. I didn't understand," he said, echoing words spoken years ago during the first days of contact. "I was afraid." A Zephyrian child stepped forward, offering its hand. Mike hesitated, then took it. The glow spread to him, and tears filled his eyes as he felt the love and hope the child carried. Scenes like this played out across the globe as the last pockets of resistance gave way to understanding. The world was changing, yes, but it was changing for the better. In schools, a new generation grew up learning not just Earth history, but galactic history. They studied Zephyrian philosophy alongside human literature and dreamed of adventures among the stars. The Galactic Council, once a distant and threatening entity, had undergone its own transformation. Influenced by the Earth-Zephyrian alliance, it had begun to value qualities like empathy, creativity, and peaceful cooperation. Races once deemed too weak were now invited to join, their unique perspectives recognized as valuable. The Cracks, former enforcers of the old council, had perhaps changed the most. Under the guidance of Zephyrian teachers, they were learning to channel their strength into protection rather than aggression. Some had even begun to manifest the ability to project emotions, much to their own surprise. As the sun set on another day in this new era, President Kira Valdez stood on the balcony of the White House, looking up at the stars. Beside her stood Lyre, the Zephyrian elder who had helped lead the emotional projection during the crisis. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Kira asked. Lyre's body shimmered with gentle colors. "In our darkest moments, when we were cast out and alone, we dared to hope. But this," the alien gestured at the peaceful city below, where humans and various alien races walked together. "This exceeds our wildest dreams." Kira smiled. "We've only just begun. There's a whole galaxy out there, waiting for us to explore it, together." As if in response, a shooting star streaked across the sky. But it wasn't a star at all. It was Earth's first intergalactic exploration vessel, setting off on its maiden voyage. Its crew, a mix of humans and aliens, carried with them the hopes and dreams of their united worlds. The ship's name, painted in glowing letters on its hull, summed up the spirit of this new age: harmony. As it disappeared into the depths of space, Earth continued to turn, a shining blue marble in the vast cosmic ocean. Once a hidden backwater, it had become a cornerstone of a new galactic civilization, a civilization built not on strength of arms, but on strength of heart. The story of Earth and the Zephyrians had become legend, a tale told on 1,000 worlds. It was a reminder that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe is a simple act of kindness, and that true strength often comes in unexpected forms. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was a very good thing indeed.